Appalachian watersheds supply about 90% of New York City's drinking water. The reason links ancient ridges to engineered cities far beyond the mountains. That connection begins where rain strikes steep forests, fractured rock, and narrow valleys. Across Appalachia, elevation cools the air, ridges steer storms, and rivers cut corridors that towns, roads, bridges, and reservoirs still follow. I used to think the mountains were the backdrop. In fact, the ground sets hard limits on where people build, how water moves, and what severe weather can close. In this video, we trace how ancient terrain still commands the landscape and how its influence reaches major cities far beyond the ridges. A river bend gave Chattanooga regional reach. Then mountains narrowed that advantage to a handful of passages. The Tennessee River turns here between Lookout Mountain and Missionary Ridge, forcing roads, rails, and crossings through confined ground. That geography made the city valuable long before its waterfront became public space. Trade moved through the gaps, rail yards locked onto them, and Civil War campaigns centered on control of the same corridors. Industry then pressed hard against the river. Foundries, factories, and rail yards drove production and growth, but also severe air and water pollution. Cleanup changed the city's direction. Parks, trails, museums, housing, and public access reclaimed land once shaped by industrial damage. The Walnut Street Bridge now carries pedestrians across a route once reserved for road traffic. Kayaks move below it. Climbing areas and trails rise beyond downtown. Yet access remains concentrated. Lookout Mountain draws traffic, while steep relief and the river leave few easy paths for movement or construction. Chattanooga's renewal did not defeat the terrain. It learned to reuse the openings the terrain allowed. Between the Tennessee River, Lookout Mountain, and Missionary Ridge, the city's form remains a map of Appalachian force. Southern College Town can lose its roads to mountain ice. At well over 3,000 feet, Boone faces fog, snow, ice, and temperature shifts that the lower Piedmont often escapes. Elevation cools the summer, but winter can close the roads. Every mountain grade turns ice into a hard travel calculation. Streams gather below the ridges. Trout streams and waterfalls pull recreation outward, while steep slopes and stream corridors squeeze construction into narrow pockets. Appalachian State University pushes another force into that confined ground. Students sustain cafes, music venues, research, and outdoor culture, but growth adds traffic and raises housing costs. Older traditions still hold their place inside that pressure. Craft markets, old-time music, bluegrass, and horn in the West keep memory active in a changing college town. Beyond downtown, routes divide toward Grandfather Mountain, the Blue Ridge Parkway, ski slopes, and trout streams. Elevation and weather can alter every route within hours. That is Boone's governing fact. Mountain fog, falling water, and winter do not decorate local life. They set the pace and mark the limited ground where Boone can grow. River dropping about 90 feet at Linville Falls has helped cut a gorge more than 1,400 feet deep in places. That mismatch records millions of years of water pressing through resistant mountain rock. Before the main plunge, the Linville River narrows into rocky channels and crosses upper cascades. The confinement builds force, then releases it toward the gorge. Water does not need to overpower the whole cliff at once. It enters fractures, loosens material, and carries that load downstream, deepening the cut piece by piece. The viewpoints make that work clear. Shorter trails hold close to the compressed upper river. Longer, steeper routes expose the main fall, the cliffs, and the channel far below. Summer hardwoods partly hide the walls. After leaf fall, the gorge reveals its structure, and the river's scale against the rock becomes harder to ignore. Wilderness protection keeps roads and buildings from taking command. Yet steep slopes, loose ground, powerful currents, wildfire, and difficult rescue access show that this terrain still sets the terms. The drop matters less than the persistence behind it. The gorge is the record. Water keeps finding fractures, and resistant stone keeps yielding ground. These mountains do not form one wall. They repeat in long parallel barriers across 4 states, from Pennsylvania through Maryland, West Virginia, and Virginia. The Alleghenies force roads, rails, towns, and streams into narrow choices. Their rocks are ancient, but the visible ridges are not untouched relics. Uplift, folding, and long erosion raised and strip the land, leaving narrow valleys between parallel ridges. Movement follows gaps or pays for steep grades. That physical limit shaped rail lines, company towns, and the routes mountain communities used to reach wider markets. High ground separates water moving toward the Atlantic from tributaries, feeding the Ohio and Mississippi networks. A ridge does more than block passage. It decides which river network receives the rain. Moist uplands hold hardwoods, conifers, cold streams, and trout habitat. Exposed crests take harder winds and winter weather, while deep forest can make the range seem less worked than it is. Lowing coal mining, rail construction, and company towns transformed wide sections of the Alleghenies. Regrown forest now covers many traces, but acid drainage, abandoned workings, floods, and economic disruptions still press on communities. Across state lines, repeated ridges still direct water, work, settlement, and every hard route. More than 500,000 protected acres can disappear behind haze made partly by their own forests. The park straddles Tennessee and North Carolina, rising from river valleys to summits above 6,000 feet. Passing weather turns the forested distance blue-gray, then hides and reveals entire ranks of ridges. The haze keeps changing the apparent scale of the mountains. The haze makes the country look limitless, but water gives it structure. Rain strikes steep slopes, gathers speed, and runs through boulder channels toward the valleys. Across that vertical range, temperature and moisture keep changing. Forest communities stack by elevation. supporting salamanders, black bears, wildflowers, and thousands of recorded species. This is not untouched wilderness. It is Cherokee homeland, and the park emerged after widespread logging and the displacement of resident communities. Roads across Newfound Gap and trails toward Kuohi cross the high terrain, yet access carries weight, heavy traffic, polluted air, invasive species, intense rain, and rising temperatures press on the forests that hold the slopes. Mist, streams, and elevation keep resetting the Smokies' scale. Water and terrain still decide where roads can cross, how slopes drain, and how much cold ground remains. The highest ground east of the Mississippi can turn a short summit walk into an alpine test. Mount Mitchell rises nearly 6,700 feet in North Carolina's Black Mountains, above every other American summit east of the river. Elevation does the hard work. The climb compresses Appalachian hardwood forest, cold red spruce, Fraser fir, exposed rock, and windswept ground into a single ascent. That upper forest resembles forests much farther north. It holds on here because elevation keeps the ridge cold, wet, and repeatedly wrapped in cloud. The weather can close that world in minutes. Cloud, wind, ice, and rain make exposed ledges and compact trails far more demanding than their map distance suggests. When cloud breaks, ridge after ridge comes into view. Their folds reveal how the Black Mountains divide drainage, movement, and settlement below. Protection, however, cannot move a mountain's climate uphill. Introduced insects, polluted air, storms, heavy foot traffic, and warming temperatures squeeze cold-adapted life against the summit. The hard limit is visible at the summit. Bare rock, stressed forest, and sudden weather show what elevation can build and what warming can pin against the highest ground. Ancient ice still controls a modern four-season economy. Across roughly 2,400 square miles of northeastern Pennsylvania, the Poconos spread over a dissected plateau, escarpments, forests, and glacially modified basins. During the last ice age, moving ice reshaped drainage, left deposits, and helped form or enlarge many lakes and wetlands. The landscape still routes water along those inherited contours. Streams descend toward the Delaware and Lehigh networks. At waterfalls and water gaps, elevation becomes visible as moving water drops from the upland. Oak and maple drive the autumn surge, while pine, hemlock, wetlands, and lake margins hold contrasting habitats. Seasonal color is rooted in elevation, water, and soil. Rail and highways connected this upland to New York and Philadelphia. Resorts, vacation homes, ski areas, and family attractions followed. The economy now changes with the weather. Boating and hiking in warmer months, leaf viewing in autumn, winter sports in snow. Nature sets the operating calendar. Peak seasons bring shoreline construction, traffic, fragmented habitat, and sudden pressure on small towns. That popularity now presses against the lakes, slopes, and forests that draw it. The Poconos remain proof. Ancient glacial ground still commands water, settlement, and the operating rhythm of all four seasons. Escape begins with a bottleneck. Gatlinburg is compressed between a river and steep forested slopes. Millions pass through a narrow valley where nearly every practical patch of level ground carries a road, shop, hotel, or restaurant. Gatlinburg occupies the west prong of the Little Pigeon River, directly beside Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Downtown roads soon climb toward Newfound Gap, waterfalls, and high country trailheads. Small farms, timber, and mills once depended on difficult routes across these ridges. National park creation and improved highways later opened the Smokies to mass automobile travel. Commerce now presses against protected land. Visitor spending supports jobs, but traffic and noise strain the same streams, roads and hillsides that keep the gateway open. Beyond the resort strip, the Great Smoky arts and crafts community keeps pottery, weaving, woodworking, and painting tied to regional labor. Old mountain skills still earn their place inside a tourism economy. The wildfire crisis of 2016 exposed the valley's harder equation. Drought, wind, forest fuels, steep slopes, and dense development can combine in one emergency. Gatlinburg is not merely beside the Smokies. Its river, roads, and waterfalls make it a narrow threshold controlled by immense terrain. Small city sits against mountain scale, with roads and buildings forced into the folds at its feet. Buffalo Mountain rises directly south of Johnson City, while higher Blue Ridge country extends toward the state boundaries. The city grew through the valleys, not over the summits. In the late 19th century, rail connections made it a junction for timber, minerals, farm products, and passengers. The former rail corridor is now the Tweetsie Trail, linking Johnson City with Elizabethton on foot and by bicycle. East Tennessee State University adds education, medicine, archives, performances, and younger residents. Its collections document Appalachian old-time music, bluegrass, storytelling, and material culture without turning them into tourist decoration. Downtown reuse puts shops, restaurants, and cultural venues inside older buildings. The center already occupies one of the terrain's usable pockets. Beyond it, ridges and stream valleys direct roads and construction. Growth and car dependence push harder against wooded slopes that cannot expand. The mismatch is blunt. Johnson City remains compact, but the surrounding land does not. Buffalo Mountain makes that fact physical. Here, Appalachia is no distant backdrop. It is the hard boundary keeping a small city pressed close to mountain country. Knoxville's modern footprint follows corridors older than the city, the river and the ridges that contain it. Knoxville stands just below the meeting of the Holston and French Broad rivers on low terraces inside the broad Appalachian Valley. That position turned water into leverage. Trade and transport could reach mountain communities, the Upper Tennessee watershed, and routes leading west. Railroads, river commerce, marble quarrying, and manufacturing followed those narrow corridors. In the 1930s, the Tennessee Valley Authority placed the city near the center of a regional campaign of dams, electricity, flood control, and economic change. The river was not scenery. It was power, freight, flood pressure, and the main line through the valley. Today, parks, greenways, and a rebuilt riverfront return public life to water once treated as industrial infrastructure. Market Square and Gay Street preserve the old commercial core. The Sun Sphere marks the 1982 World's Fair. The landscape enforces that discipline. Wooded ridges, highway cuts, and limited corridors still decide where Knoxville can spread. The Tennessee River, nearby parks, and the pull of the mountains keep Knoxville in a hard balance. Urban growth has room only where Appalachia yields it. Blue Horizon can hide an entire wall of terrain. The Blue Ridge runs from southern Pennsylvania toward Georgia, forming the eastern high wall of Appalachia and reaching its greatest elevations in western North Carolina. The color is not simply fog. Moisture and light interact with organic compounds released by dense forests, softening one distant ridge behind another. The Blue Ridge Parkway turns that barrier into a narrow line of access. It follows the crest, linking overlooks, trail crossings, historic farm sites, and mountain communities, while valleys fall steeply away. Elevation also changes the forest. Hardwood and rhododendron hold lower slopes. Cooler spruce fir habitat takes over on the highest summits. Human life also had to fit the terrain. Cherokee history, settler farms, music, woodworking, and weaving show how communities adapted to narrow ground and difficult connections. Autumn brings concentrated traffic to the crest, exposing how little room the road can absorb. Beyond it, construction, erosion, and fragmented habitat reveal the cost of occupying steep land. Fog and ice keep testing every foothold. Across one horizon after another, blue haze and seasonal forest expose a high wall that still governs roads, habitats, and communities. Coal did not make Roanoke a rail center by itself. The decisive advantage was a gap through the mountains. Roanoke grew in a valley where roads and rail lines concentrated between the Blue Ridge and higher western ridges. The Norfolk and Western Railway turned that opening into a major operating center. Trains carried Appalachian coal toward eastern ports, while rail yards, warehouses, and worker neighborhoods filled the usable ground. Mill Mountain rises immediately above downtown, and the illuminated Roanoke Star fixes the city's identity to that slope. From the overlooks, the urban grid appears less dominant than confined. Nearby, the Blue Ridge Parkway and Appalachian Trail connect the city to long mountain routes, forests, and waterfalls. This is not scenery at the edge. It is the wider network that channels movement through the region. The Roanoke River and its tributaries provide greenways, yet they also expose the valley to flooding. Roads and new development must compete with water, slopes, and surviving rail infrastructure for limited corridors. Markets, museums, breweries, and reused downtown buildings mark an economy no longer driven solely by rail. Roanoke remains framed from above. Mountain gaps concentrated its growth, and river and ridge still set its limits. Mountain Creek becomes more than 700 feet of vertical force. Amicalola Falls descends through northern Georgia's southern Blue Ridge, making it the tallest waterfall in the state. It does not make one clean plunge. The creek breaks across resistant bedrock into a long chain of cascades, each slope adding speed and noise. Sustained rain feeds the uplands and thickens the flow. Dry weather pulls it apart into smaller channels. The slope and watershed determine how much force the water can display. Trails, stairways, bridges, and roadside viewpoints cut access into a difficult descent. They hold people above wet rock and roots while exposing separate sections of the falls. The same ground begins a much longer test. The Appalachian Trail Approach trail climbs about 9 miles to Springer Mountain, turning this basin into a gateway for northbound hikers. From the first climb, elevation asserts control, wet surfaces, rapid height gain, dense hardwoods, shifting weather, and short sight lines. Endurance starts with terrain, not distance. Heavy visitation adds pressure. Maintained paths and protected viewpoints limit trampling and erosion, keeping access from wearing down the slope. At Amicalola, steep ground turns water into overwhelming visible force, then dictates where paths can hold. Reinvention has not freed Asheville from its basin. At the confluence of the French Broad and Swannanoa, Blue Ridge ridges leave the city only a few directions to grow. Rail arrival in the late 19th century accelerated trade, tourism, and resort building. The boom of the 1920s then left downtown a concentrated collection of Art Deco buildings. The Biltmore estate imposed another scale. Its Gilded Age development influenced forestry and estate agriculture around Asheville, tying private ambition to mountain land. Today, Appalachian woodworking, pottery, textiles, and music stand beside galleries, studios, breweries, performance spaces, and converted industrial buildings. Old structures have become working ground for a newer economy. The River Arts District puts both forces on the same ground, converted industrial buildings beside a river that also brings flood pressure. Neighborhoods and working districts have faced repeated severe flooding. In 2024, catastrophic regional flooding tore through river districts, displaced residents, and severed mountain routes. Walls, roads, and creative reuse could not erase the basin's exposure. Scenic roads and trails reach waterfalls and high ridges quickly, but they never escape the same terrain. Asheville's creative rhythm remains physically bounded by river, basin, and the enclosing Blue Ridge. River, railroad, storefronts, and mountain walls nearly touch in Jim Thorpe. The Victorian town survives inside the gap industry once claimed. Jim Thorpe occupies a narrow bend of the Lehigh River, pinned between the railroad, historic buildings, and the steep forested slopes of Pennsylvania's southern Poconos. For most of its industrial life, the town was called Mauch Chunk. Anthracite coal passed through by gravity railroad, canal, and later conventional rail on its way to eastern markets. Coal wealth paid for hotels, churches, civic buildings, and Victorian houses, yet streets followed the river. Rails took the flat corridor, and houses climbed the slopes. The town took Jim Thorpe's name in 1954, honoring the celebrated Native American athlete, despite his limited connection to the community. Today, excursion trains reuse the old corridor. Trails, rafting routes, and mountain bike paths turn industrial access lines into outdoor infrastructure without changing the narrow geometry beneath them. Autumn crowds and weekend traffic expose the limit. Little level ground lies between storefronts, river, railroad, and mountain walls. Jim Thorpe's curved streets are not quaint design. They carry the direct imprint of the Lehigh Valley, fixing the town's shape long after the coal trade faded. A railway that no longer runs now links an 18th century town to the Appalachian high country. The Virginia Creeper Trail follows that former rail corridor for more than 30 miles, linking Abingdon with Damascus and high country near White Top. Sitt's gentle grade reveals how engineers threaded heavy trains along valleys and mountain streams, avoiding the steepest ground. Cyclists and walkers now inherit that carefully graded line through the highlands. Abingdon itself stands near old routes through Appalachian valleys toward the Cumberland Gap and lands farther west. Established in the colonial era, it grew as a county seat and market town. Brick houses, churches, inns, and civic buildings hold that role in a compact historic district. Their scale matters because the surrounding ridges rise beyond every church and roofline. The Barter Theater carries another layer of endurance. Founded during the Great Depression, it first allowed patrons to exchange farm goods for admission, binding performance to the working countryside. Trail tourism and theater now support local incomes. Visitor traffic, commercial growth, and building at the edges now test the town's preserved scale. Abingdon preserves human history in brick and rail grade, while the highland views hold both inside the larger scale of Appalachia. One of America's great skylines was forced into a narrow wedge of land by three rivers. The Allegheny and Monongahela meet here to form the Ohio, compressing downtown into a triangle between water and steep Appalachian hills. That confluence delivered transport, while nearby coal fields and rail lines fed iron, glass, and then steel. Mills crowded the banks because the rivers were working corridors, not scenery. The slopes imposed a second order. Streets bend, stairways climb, and tunnels, inclines, and bridges carry movement across abrupt changes in elevation. Row houses and former mill communities still record where labor could settle inside those valleys. Geography divided neighborhoods even as industry tied them to the same riverbanks. Industrial decline removed many mills and jobs from the waterfront. Universities, medicine, technology, cultural institutions, and converted waterfront land then built a different economy on the same constrained ground. Yet the terrain never became passive. Flood control, aging bridges, landslides, and uneven redevelopment keep testing a city that must maintain connections across water, rock, and unstable slopes. The bridges reveal the force they were built to overcome. Pittsburgh's three rivers and steep hills remain the frame of its skyline and the terms of its movement. A major share of New York City's drinking water comes from mountains that are not a folded chain at all. The Catskills rise west of the Hudson Valley as a deeply eroded plateau carved from Devonian sandstone and shale by streams. Those streams did the shaping. They cut steep cloves, ledges, waterfalls, and isolated summits, giving the plateau its strong relief above the Hudson corridor. Catskill Falls and nearby outlooks helped inspire Thomas Cole and other Hudson River School painters. Their 19th century images shaped an influential American idea of wilderness. Later, river, rail, and road linked the high country to New York City. Boarding houses, grand hotels, farms, orchards, artists' colonies, and resort communities turned access into livelihood. Today, the strongest connection is municipal. Reservoirs and protected watersheds send mountain runoff toward New York City's taps. Reservoirs can store that water, but the source still depends on rainfall, forest, and protected land. Intense storms, trail erosion, and second home development tighten the conflict between public access, local livelihoods, and water quality. Streams cut the plateau, Catskill Falls shaped American art, and high reservoirs support a distant metropolis. Above the Hudson, the Catskills remain deep terrain put to work. A river that seems woven into downtown is also a carefully controlled piece of infrastructure. The Riverwalk grew from 20th century flood control and civic design. Upstream dams, bypass channels, and managed levels help hold its setting in place. Long before the modern channel, springs and the San Antonio River supported indigenous communities, Spanish missions, irrigation, and settlement. Water did not decorate the city, it made the city workable. Historic acequias diverted river water into fields and communities. They proved that San Antonio learned early to guide water rather than wait for it. 5 mission sites, including the Alamo, now form a UNESCO World Heritage Property. Their churches and working landscapes record how water, labor, agriculture, and settlement were bound together. The modern Riverwalk applies the same hard lesson in another form. Pedestrian routes run apart from street traffic, while stone paths, bridges, cypress trees, and boat routes pull public life toward the channel. Above it, the Tower of the Americas marks the city's expansion around Hemisphere in the late 1960s. Rapid growth now presses against heat, drought, sudden flooding, and regional aquifer limits. San Antonio's defining view is not water passing through downtown, but a city organized close around water it must constantly manage. A city built to display abundance occupies a desert basin defined by scarcity. Las Vegas spreads across a broad Mojave Valley, enclosed by dry ranges, while most of its water comes through the Colorado River system and Lake Mead. Sit's name recalls meadows once fed by desert springs, a stopping point before railroads, federal projects, gambling, and mass tourism accelerated growth. The mountains do more than frame the buildings. They enclose the metropolitan area and can hold polluted air within the valley. Downtown compresses an earlier Las Vegas around Fremont Street, where casino fronts sit beneath a vast display canopy. Nearby, The Neon Museum preserves signs from businesses repeatedly built, renamed, and cleared away. The famous strip sits mostly beyond the city it appears to define. The resort corridor lies mainly in unincorporated Clark County outside the city of Las Vegas. Beyond the lights, every pool, lawn, resort, house, and road presses against arid ground. Conservation has reduced water use per person, but extreme heat, drought, and outward construction keep tightening the limits. The strongest structure here is not a casino. It is the mountain-walled valley, setting the boundaries for air, water, and growth. City with almost no natural elevation has stacked its tallest buildings at the water's edge. Downtown Miami and Brickell rise from a low limestone platform where the Miami River reaches Biscayne Bay. The river is not decorative space. It remains a working channel, carrying boats past marine businesses, bridges, and dense development. Beyond it, the bay, barrier islands, dredged channels, and filled land reveal a shoreline repeatedly cut and rebuilt. Miami Beach stands across the water as a separate municipality, not another district of the city. That geography explains the skyline. With no mountain or ridge to command the horizon, towers cluster beside channels that connect land, trade, and open water. Older landmarks mark earlier growth. The Freedom Tower carries the imprint of the 1920s building boom and later Cuban migration, while Vizcaya shows how an estate was adapted to subtropical conditions. But the ground resists easy control. Water moves through porous limestone beneath conventional barriers, so flood protection cannot rely on walls alone. Storm surge, extreme rain, heat, and rising seas test drainage, buildings, and insurance. Miami's hard bargain is concrete. The skyline rises from Biscayne Bay, but each tower remains tied to water moving above and below the limestone. Three sides of water compress one of America's major cities onto the steep end of a narrow peninsula. In the 1930s, the Golden Gate Bridge replaced a ferry crossing with a permanent regional link across the harbor entrance. The gold rush after 1848 expanded the port at speed. Builders filled shoreline and packed trade, homes, and industry onto limited ground. The grid crossed the hills on paper, but ordinary rail vehicles could not master every grade. Cable cars endured because their grip mechanism could pull through those slopes. At the Embarcadero, the ferry building and old piers preserve the port's outline, though the piers now carry transport, commerce, tourism, and redevelopment. The ground still sets terms, earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault network, especially the 1906 shock, exposed the vulnerability of dense construction. Fog pushes through the Golden Gate, while housing scarcity drives construction against landslide-prone slopes. Rising seas add pressure at the same edge earlier generations filled to gain land. Compression is the governing condition. Streets, hills, bridge approaches, and shoreline compete inside one tight frame. San Francisco is heavily engineered, but ancient ground and moving water still decide how densely it can build. Chicago's drinking water once forced engineers to make a river run the other way. Around 1900, canals deepened the link and reversed the Chicago River's main flow, sending wastewater away from Lake Michigan, the city's drinking water source. The reversal permanently altered regional drainage. It exposed the city's hard bargain with water, protect the lake, then use engineered channels to connect the Great Lakes with routes toward the Mississippi watershed. Railroads strengthened that junction, moving grain, timber, livestock, manufactured goods, and people through a national hub. Those routes concentrated trade long before the skyline became its clearest proof. After the Great Fire of 1871, rebuilding pressure and expensive central land drove structural experiments that helped produce early skyscrapers. Height was not decoration. It was a response to constrained, valuable ground. At river level, movable bridges, boats, and the Riverwalk exposed towers as a dense wall. Above loop streets, elevated CTA trains carry movement over traffic. Lake Michigan opens a vast horizon, but also brings wind, snow, erosion, and flooding. Parks and engineered defenses mediate that exposed shore. From the river mouth to the lakeshore, water provides the open frame that exposes downtown Chicago's full density and height. City, known for towers and technology, still moves to the shape of vanished ice. Far outside Appalachia, glaciers carved the basins, piled up ridges, and left a narrow, hilly strip between Puget Sound and Lake Washington. That ancient work still controls the street grid. Steep roads fall toward water, while the Olympic and Cascade ranges hold the wider horizon. Water is part of the transport network. Ferries extend Washington's highways across Puget Sound, carrying daily life beyond pavement. On Elliott Bay, the same geography supports a working port, cruise terminals, fishing links, and shoreline industry. Pike Place Market occupies the higher commercial layer above that changing waterfront. These waterways are also older than the city. They remain bound to the histories of Coast Salish peoples, including the Duwamish and Suquamish. The Space Needle, built for the 1962 World's Fair, supplies a fixed reference point. Around it, maritime trade, aerospace, and technology have driven growth across terrain that never became easy. That growth carries pressure. Housing costs and redevelopment climb above ground, exposed to landslides, earthquakes, shoreline contamination, and rising water. Seattle commands a global economy, but glacial ridges and surrounding water still command its movement and risk. Compact historic core rests on a shoreline that people repeatedly moved. Outside Appalachia, the colonial core occupied the small Shawmut Peninsula. Much of Back Bay came later, built by filling tidal flats. Old downtown streets follow former shoreline slopes and early property lines. In Back Bay, straighter streets and planned brownstone rows reveal land built to a later design. At the mouth of the Charles River, compact scale concentrated trade and movement, shipbuilding, fishing, immigration, and naval activity tied this small urban core to the Atlantic economy. The The Freedom Trail does not isolate history behind a wall. Its red route threads revolutionary sights through streets still carrying the weight of a modern capital. Along the Charles, the Esplanade, and an engineered river basin create public ground beneath bridges and institutional skylines. The Zakim Bridge marks a newer transportation layer and the reworking of central highways. But reclaimed land carries a hard price. Storm surge, rising seas, and drainage pressure fall most heavily on ground that was once tidal water. Boston's compact core remains easy to read because river, harbor, old streets, and reclaimed ground are pressed into a small area. Austin's calmest-looking water is not natural. It is a working piece of urban machinery. The Colorado River is impounded through downtown as Lady Bird Lake, part of a wider chain of dams supporting flood control, water supply, power, and recreation. Austin sits where flatter prairie meets the limestone hills near the Balcones Escarpment. Growth now pushes across this divide, bringing traffic, housing pressure, heat, and heavier water demand. Lady Bird Lake gives that pressure a visible shape. Water, bridges, trails, parks, roads, and towers are compressed into one corridor through the capital. The skyline looks strongest from across the reservoir because the open surface exposes how quickly downtown has risen. Austin has moved from a lower-rise government and university city toward a technology center. Congress Avenue Bridge adds another layer. Concrete built for traffic also shelters a large seasonal colony of Mexican free-tailed bats. Their evening flights tie migration and insect feeding to the city's central crossing. The surface hides the region's hard swing between severe floods and prolonged drought. More people mean higher cooling demand and a narrower margin in the water system. Lady Bird Lake fixes Austin's skyline and limits along one engineered line of water. City built upward is still ruled by the water at its feet. At the Hudson's mouth, 5 boroughs occupy islands and mainland shores, split and rejoined by a deep harbor, tidal straits, bridges, tunnels, ferries, and rail. Glacial ice shaped this ground before any street grid. Resistant bedrock still breaks the surface in Central Park and northern Manhattan, while valuable land, transit, and foundations concentrate the skyline. The harbor gave trade, shipbuilding, immigration, and industry room to gather. New York grew because its shoreline was not an edge, but working infrastructure. The East River is not a conventional river, but a tidal strait. The Brooklyn Bridge fixed a permanent crossing over water that had separated major populations. Liberty Island and Ellis Island turned that marine geography into a national threshold. Arrival came through the harbor, so the harbor became part of the country's memory. From ferries, the city resolves into towers, low shores, islands, channels, and hard links. Water makes its full scale legible. Now redeveloped waterfronts face housing demand, working infrastructure, and storm surge exposure on the same limited ground. From the harbor, New York's islands, shorelines, and dense towers reveal a city whose scale still depends on water. Every ordinary day in New Orleans depends on walls, canals, and pumps holding back or moving water. Between the Mississippi River and Lake Pontchartrain, the historic center holds relatively high natural levees, while later neighborhoods spread across drained marsh and lower ground. That small difference in height decides where water gathers and why levees, floodwalls, canals, and pumping stations are basic urban machinery, not optional defenses. Creole townhouses, ironwork galleries, Jackson Square, and St. Louis Cathedral look permanent. The wider city rests on ground that keeps shifting and sinking. The Mississippi gave this low-site continental reach, connecting the interior to the Gulf and turning river traffic into sustained exchange among indigenous African, Caribbean, French, Spanish, and American communities. Their music, food, religious practices, and parades did not come from one culture. They were built by distinct communities sharing the same constrained ground. Streetcars carry the visible city beyond the French Quarter, but every expansion meets the Delta's terms: land subsidence, wetland loss, hurricanes, and extreme rain. Unequal protection makes those pressures heavier in some neighborhoods than others. New Orleans makes time, water, and terrain visible at city scale, a place whose daily operation is still a negotiation with both river and lake. Philadelphia's orderly grid looks man-made, but two rivers set its scale before a single colonial block was drawn. The city grew where the Delaware and Schuylkill meet, with one carrying port commerce and shipbuilding, while the other served and powered industry. Long before colonial settlement, this confluence belonged to Lenape homelands and wider river networks. In the 17th century, William Penn imposed an ordered grid with public squares. That framework later absorbed row houses, factories, rail lines, and civic institutions without losing its basic logic. Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell hold the revolutionary core. Farther west, City Hall locks Broad and Market Streets together beneath William Penn's statue. Then the Benjamin Franklin Parkway breaks the pattern. Its diagonal route drives toward the Philadelphia Museum of Art, connecting the old grid to a later civic and cultural district. Yet the rivers are not simply borders. Highways and industrial land have cut neighborhoods away from parts of the waterfront, while redevelopment now weighs public access against working infrastructure, flood exposure, and displacement pressure. Philadelphia depends on a frame it never fully controls. The Delaware and Schuylkill still define how the city moves, builds, and measures its civic reach. Los Angeles can look almost flat until the mountains expose its true size. Between the Pacific, the Santa Monica Mountains, and higher inland ranges, a broad basin carries most of the city at low height. Downtown rises as a concentrated cluster, but it is the exception. Homes, roads, and commercial ground spread outward across the coastal plain. Elevated sites at Griffith Observatory and the Hollywood sign reveal the governing contrast. Gridded land runs until abrupt mountain slopes stop it. After severe 20th century floods, the Los Angeles River was locked into concrete, turning a variable waterway into flood control infrastructure. restoration must now work inside that hard channel. The basin carries other limits. Mountain barriers and atmospheric conditions can trap polluted air, while scarce water must be imported across long distances. Faults, earthquakes, drought, wildfire, heat, and debris flows all shape construction and emergency planning. Expansion never removes nature's pressure. It multiplies what must be managed. Freeways enabled the outward spread, but they also cut through neighborhoods and made distance a daily constraint. Downtown marks the center. The city's real scale is measured across the ground between ocean and mountain. Washington appears open and orderly because two rivers and one old plan keep forcing the capital into long, controlled lines. More than 2 centuries ago, Pierre L'Enfant laid diagonal avenues and ceremonial spaces across a street grid, fixing sightlines that still organize national power. The National Mall extends that discipline east to west. Open ground separates the Capitol from the Washington Monument, while Smithsonian museums hold the edges. At the western end, the Lincoln Memorial and reflecting pool turn the monumental core toward the Potomac. The city does not merely border water, its formal axis opens into it. Around the tidal basin, engineered shorelines hold a seasonal civic landscape in place, yet flooding and rising water levels press against that carefully measured order. The Anacostia marks a different divide. Infrastructure and unequal development historically separated its waterfront from better funded sections of the city. Beyond the federal core, row houses, universities, parks, and commercial streets fill a working capital. Height limits restrain the skyline, so avenues, waterways, and topographic rises carry more visual force. Washington commands vast civic space, but the Potomac and Anacostia still set its physical terms. Beyond Appalachia, terrain keeps its power but changes form. In Orlando, much of the water controlling growth moves beneath the city. Porous limestone, wetlands, and a lake-dotted interior make drainage and water management basic conditions of expansion. Downtown Orlando grew around rail and commerce, not around the resort image now attached to its name. Church Street Station preserves that older logic, tracks first concentrated movement, trade, and construction. Lake Eola gives the civic core a compact basin of open water beneath the skyline. Its fountain and surrounding public ground hold space that towers, roads, and commercial blocks cannot occupy. Nearby, the Dr. Phillips Center and public buildings concentrate civic life within the same water-managed downtown. The major themed resorts sit southwest of downtown, tied together by expressways, arterial roads, hotels, and convention infrastructure. What appears to be one destination is a broad construction field laid across sensitive ground. Rapid growth pushes that field outward. Traffic thickens, pavement stores heat, and habitat carries more pressure. Coastal distance does not remove tropical rain or hurricane winds. Orlando's skyline rises over Lake Eola, but its scale still rests on controlling inland water. Nashville's riverfront carries both its commercial origin and the measure of its risk. In 2010, heavy regional rain drove the Cumberland beyond its banks and into riverfront districts beside downtown. Nashville stands west of the main Appalachian ranges, on rolling limestone ground. The Cumberland's bend and navigable route toward the Ohio made it a trade center. Roads, bridges, and rail lines reinforced that advantage, concentrating downtown on the west bank. Towers rise, but the skyline remains measured against the river and the slopes behind it. Lower Broadway supplies the public face, but Nashville's music economy reaches beyond its venues. Publishing, studios, radio, touring networks, and skilled session musicians carry its industrial weight. The Ryman Auditorium and Country Music Hall of Fame mark different stages of that growth. Country music also drew from African American blues, gospel, folk, and commercial broadcasting. The Parthenon in Centennial Park records an older attempt to project regional ambition through construction. Rapid building redraws neighborhoods, raises housing pressure, and pushes the skyline higher. Nashville can bridge the Cumberland, but it cannot choose where the river runs. From Appalachian headwaters to distant city taps, terrain remains infrastructure, not backdrop. San Diego's ocean frontage is not a single edge. Mesas, canyons, and a sheltering headland split the city into layers. Point Loma shelters the entrance to San Diego Bay, a protected harbor shared by naval facilities, commercial docks, downtown towers, and Coronado. That shelter made the bay practical for military installations and shipbuilding, industries that still occupy large stretches of waterfront. Here, coastal form controls economic power. The ground also carries older boundaries. This is Kumeyaay homeland, later crossed by Spanish, Mexican, and American rule near today's United States-Mexico border. Inland, flat mesas break against steep canyons. Those cuts preserve habitat, but they also sever streets and concentrate movement on bridges, freeways, and selected valley corridors. Balboa Park shows the engineering response. Its Spanish colonial revival buildings came largely from early 20th century expositions, while the Cabrillo Bridge carries access across a canyon into the cultural core. The mild climate conceals a hard limit. Local rainfall is scarce, so imported water is essential. Drought, wildfire, coastal erosion, habitat loss, and cross-border growth tighten that limit. San Diego never occupies one level. Bay, mesa, canyon, and Point Loma decide where the city can connect and expand. Two major skylines rise from one city, yet the ground repeatedly hides each from the other. Southeast of the main Appalachian ranges, downtown and midtown occupy separate Piedmont rises, divided by shallow valleys on ground that is never truly flat. Atlanta began as a railroad terminus, and its junctions fixed the city's commercial power. Rail locked later growth into transport corridors cut across rolling ground. Today, roads crest one ridge, drop into another valley, then climb again. The skyline appears, vanishes, and returns because the Piedmont still controls the line of sight. The Beltline turns former freight rail corridors into trails, parks, public art, housing and space reserved for transit. It exposes the old transport skeleton, while redevelopment raises displacement pressure along it. Sawburn Avenue carries a different kind of force. Its churches, homes, streets, and institutions connect the modern capital directly to the civil rights movement. Centennial Olympic Park marks redevelopment tied to the 1996 Games. Regional growth depends on the Chattahoochee River for water. Broad roads and low-density expansion intensify traffic, forest loss, urban heat, and separation between communities. Atlanta's skyline does not rise from flat ground. Ridges, corridors, and water still ration the city's growth. Appalachia changes the scale at which a city must be understood. A skyline may dominate the frame, but slope, stone, and rainfall set the harder terms. Roads seek gaps, bridges claim narrow crossings, reservoirs occupy high valleys. Towns press into basins when level ground runs out. The way I see it, Appalachia functions as active infrastructure. Engineers can tunnel through ridges, hold back rivers, and span deep gorges. Each structure still answers to unstable slopes, hard rock, rising water, and severe winters. As heavier rain places greater pressure on roads, dams, and water supplies, that dependence becomes more urgent. Modern power can reshape the mountains, but it cannot escape them. Communities near the ridges, and millions far beyond them, remain bound to where water falls, how stone holds, and which routes the terrain permits. Follow this terrain-led journey across America, where rivers, ridges, forests, coasts, and deserts reveal how every engineered city still depends on the ground beneath it.